Good morning. I'm Mudit Thakre of class CS3 and my assigned topic is allocation methods. What are allocation methods? Allocation methods define how the files are stored in the disk blocks. There are three main disk spaces or file allocation methods, namely contiguous allocations, linked list allocation, and index file allocation. Contiguous allocation. Contiguous allocation is a method of file allocation where each file is stored in a single contiguous block of space on the disk in one continuous area. Let's understand this with an example. Suppose in an exam, each roll number is assigned with a specific seat or a table, and the following roll numbers have to follow the series. Suppose roll number 50 is assigned with table number 1. So the following roll numbers, which are 51, 52, and 53, will be seated according to the series of the roll numbers, which will be if 50 seats on bench 1, so 51 will sit on bench 2 and 53 will on 3, and this will go on. In this example of contiguous allocation, we can see 5 files stored in a directory. The first file is named count and it starts from block 0 and is of length 2. So 2 blocks will be assigned to the file. As we can see, 0 and 1 is assigned to the file count, as it starts from 0 and is of length 2. So 0 and 1 are 2 blocks assigned to it. The next file is tr. Tr starts from 14, so and it is of length 3. So in the directory it will start from 14 and 3 blocks will be assigned to tr, which will be 14, 15 and 16, and the next files, that is mail, will follow the same. Advantages of contiguous allocations are: it is very easy to implement as there is no use of pointers and indexes. Excellent read performance. As the files are stored in a contiguous blocks, the read heads of the disk can easily access the blocks just by rotating the disks. The disadvantages of contiguous allocations are: disk will get fragmented. In simpler words, it means suppose a file is of 3 KB and the space allotted to it is 5 KB, so the remaining 2 KB will go wasted, as no other file can access that space that is allotted to the previous file. Another disadvantage is the difficulty to grow a file. Suppose a file starts from 0 and is of length 2, so the blocks 0 and 1 will get allotted to it, the file, the first file. And if a new file comes that starts from 2 and is of length 4, so it will take the space 2, 3, 4 and 5. So if we have to change anything in the first file, it will require some more space. That will not be possible as there will no longer space available for the first file, as the next file is allocated just next right to the first file, and no block will be left for the first file to be stored. The next type of allocation is linked list allocation. Linked list allocation is a method where files are stored in blocks that are scattered all over the disk and each block contains a pointer to the next block. It's like a game of treasure hunt in which each clue leads to the next until you find the treasure. In this example of linked list allocation, we see a file named Jeep that starts from block 9. So the block 9 will contain the pointer of 16, and the 16 will contain the pointer of 1, and this will go on until we reach the end, that is 25. Advantages of linked list allocations are: no external fragmentation. That means files can be stored in any available block on the disk. Like we saw in contiguous blocks, continuous blocks are needed to store the file. Since we have pointers in linked list allocation, we can store it in any available space in the disk. Another advantage is file size. File size can be increased as the file can be added anywhere on the disk and can be accessed through the pointers. The disadvantages of linked list allocations are large seek time. Since the blocks of a file can be scattered all over the disk, the read head has to move to many locations, even in different disks, to find different location which slows down file access time. Suppose we take an example. A block is stored in the first disk and another block is stored in the second disk. So the read head has to go to the second block, which will be pointed by the pointer in the first block, which will take a lot of time to access it, which slows down the file access time. Random access difficulty. Since we cannot go to any of the block by our own, we have to always go through the first block and then follow the pointers and reach to the block that we want. So we cannot access randomly any block we want. The last disadvantage is overhead of pointers, since every block contains the pointer to the next block, so an additional space is added to store it. Last but not the least type of allocation is indexed file allocation. Indexed file allocation is a method where an index block is used to keep track of all the blocks in a file. This index contains pointer to all the block, allowing the direct access to any block. For example, we take it as a book index page that contains all the indexes of the chapters in the book and where they are located in the book. It is quite similar. In this example of indexed file allocation, we see a file named Jeep which has an index block of 19. So the index block 19 will contain all the pointers of all the blocks of the file that are stored in the directory. So index will contain the pointer to block 25, block 16, block 9, block 10, and block 2. And we can access all the blocks by the indexes of 19 as it contains all the pointers to all the blocks in the directory of the file. Advantages of indexed file allocations are it supports random access. As index block contains pointer to all other blocks, we have to just go to the assigned index block and it will have the pointers to all the blocks of the file and we can just simply go to our desired block. The other advantage is there is no external fragmentation. That is, a file can be stored at any available space. It is just opposite to contiguous allocation, as we do not need continuous blocks to store our blocks. We can have it in any available space. The disadvantage of index file allocation are pointer overhead. The index block contains pointers to all the indexes, so it will require an additional space to store the pointers. Multi-level indexing is to find any block at random place, we need to go to the index blocks first. In order to go to our desired block, we have to first go to index block and the read head will search for the pointer of our desired file block and then we can access the block. With this, we come to the end of our presentation. Thank you.